Sometimes Delver doesn't flip because you hope it will. It flips because you make it flip. Welcome to part 2 of our deep dive into the math behind the flip of Delver of Secrets. In part 1, we broke down the natural flip, the pure top deck moment decided entirely by deck composition. If you missed it, that video is linked in the description and sets the foundation for what we are exploring today, because this time we are stepping into the world of decision-driven probability, the Brainstorm Flip. The moment when Delver's trigger goes on the stack, you cast Brainstorm, and suddenly the top cards of your library isn't random anymore. It's a problem you can solve. Let's jump in. When Delver's triggered ability is on the stack, you have the option to cast a spell in response, and Brainstorm is the classic choice. Brainstorm lets you draw 3 cards, then put 2 cards from your hand back to the top of your library, giving you direct control of what your next card will be, perfect for manipulating a Delver trigger. From here, the problem splits into 2 distinct cases. Case 1. You already have another spell in hand. If your hand contains any other instant or sorcery, then Brainstorm essentially becomes a guaranteed flip. You cast it, draw 3, put 2 back, and simply stack a spell on top. Probability of flip is 100%. Nothing more to say. Here Brainstorm gives you perfect control. Case 2. You have no other spells in hand. This is where things get interesting. If Brainstorm is your only spell, then flipping Delver of Secrets depends on whether the top 3 cards of your library contain at least one instant or sorcery. This is a classic hypergeometric setup. You're drawing 3 cards from a library of size D. The flip succeeds if at least one of those cards is a spell. We compute it by subtracting the chance that none of the 3 cards is a spell. The exact number changes with how many spells remain in the deck at the moment. As expected, the key intuition is that Brainstorm dramatically boosts flip odds, even when your hand is nearly empty. Let's look at the classic scenario. Turn 2, Delver trigger on the stack. You respond with Brainstorm. On the play, you kept 7 cards, so 53 cards remain in the library. Plugging this value into the hypergeometric formula for drawing at least one spells out of 3 gives a probability expressed as a quotient of binomial coefficients. On the draw, you've seen one more card, so 52 remain. Same formula, slightly higher probability because the deck is thinner. Across typical mono-blue Delver lists, 30 to 34 spells, the probability of a successful turn to Brainstorm flip stays remarkably high. Even with 0 other spells in hand, your odds often exceeds 90-95%, depending on the exact spell count. Everything so far assumed we know the Delver player's hand. But what if we are the opponent? Imagine this scenario. You know the Delver player is holding a Brainstorm, but you don't know whether they have any other spells. From your point of view, the game branches into 2 possibilities. 1. They do have another spell, the flip is guaranteed. 2. They don't have another spell, and the flip depends on the top 3 cards via hypergeometric probability. The chance of being in either branch depends on the unknown hand composition. To combine this into a single answer, we build a Bayesian probability tree. When the dust settles, we obtain a coincide but not very friendly looking closed formula. The final expression depends only on visible information, cards on the battlefield, in graveyards, in exile, and known spells on the stack. Just like in part 1, the hidden details collapse into an expected value, driven purely by deck construction. Let's revisit the same turn 2 position as before, but now from the opponent's angle. Plug in the visible spells, visible known spells, and the remaining deck size. In both cases, on the play and on the draw, the Bayesian formula returns something striking. The probability of a Brainstorm flip exceeds 99%. Even with incomplete information, even with uncertainty about the hand, Brainstorm overwhelmingly pushes Delver towards transforming. Here's the takeaway. Brainstorm doesn't just help Delver flip. Mathematically, it forces the flip in nearly every realistic early game scenario. If Delver survives to your second turn and Brainstorm resolves, your tempo plan automatically ignites. This is why Delver pilots prioritize hands containing Delver, Island, and Brainstorm. These 3 cards together don't just threaten pressure, they statistically guarantee it. Magic is a game of decisions layered over probabilities, and with Delver, Brainstorm isn't just a cantrip. It's a way to turn math into momentum and suspense into inevitability. Because with the right spell at the right moment, Delver doesn't flip by luck, It flips because the numbers leave no doubt.